it's me. As always, I'd like to invite any artists out there to grab a sketchbook or something else fun and relaxing to do if you feel like being creative with me while I draw this really silly caricature of Joey Graceffa for today's video. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram or Twitter, linked below, and share with me what you made, as I love sharing your guys' art at the end of my videos. As I draw, I will be doing kind of a deep dive into the recent Gabbie Hanna drama with Joey Graceffa, Daniel Prada, and the whole Escape the Night drama that was resurfaced after Gabbie posted episode 4 of her expose series. I asked you guys on the community tab a few days ago if you'd like one long video talking about Gabbie's series as a whole, or if I should post multiple smaller parts as the series is posted, and you guys wanted just one long video, which I will post next week or whenever Gabbie's full series is posted and after I can analyze it. But this specific video had a huge impact on the internet and involved a ton of YouTubers, so I wanted to make one dedicated video on this. I'll be analyzing and summarizing all sides of the story, including Gabbie's and Joey's and Daniel's, and I'll give you guys some of my thoughts and reactions from the internet, and overall just discuss what happened and how the internet is responding to everything. Very quickly though, if you happen to be catching this on the day it is posted, hello, this is the last day of June, and it's also the last day to grab this sticker that I made of my cat Jet for Patreon. And if you join using the link in my description, today I will send you this sticker in the mail, or if you're just seeing this in July and want me to send you a sticker, I have a brand new secret design coming for all July supporters. By secret, I mean I haven't designed it yet, so if you have any ideas for stickers, let me know and I might make it. I also make custom paintings of cats, dogs, horses, rabbits, snakes, whatever animal you want on my Etsy, so that will also be linked below if you'd like to take a look at my Etsy shop. And I'm done self-promoting and I'm ready to talk about internet gossip now, so thanks for listening to that. So as many of us probably know, Gabbie has been posting a daily expose series on her main YouTube channel, where each video starts off as her regular kind of vlog format video, and then usually leads into some drama or a specific topic that is the highlighted point of the video. One of her recent episodes was about Escape the Night, a YouTube Originals show directed by Joey Graceffa, and her retelling of the story about how she was apparently a nightmare to work with on set, and how she recounts why she acted out so poorly and what reasons she has to explain her unprofessional behavior. If you've never watched Escape the Night or don't know anything about it, once again, it is a YouTube Originals show that can only be accessed by members of YouTube Premium membership, but YouTube as a corporation is the network that backs the show and provides the resources and the budget for it to be produced. Joey Graceffa is the director / creator of the show, so besides YouTube as a corporation, Joey's basically like the top guy or the boss, or the creative director for the show, while his partner at the time, Daniel Prada, was the top producer and probably held like the second most amount of responsibility under Joey. And Escape the Night is basically a reality game show where a cast of YouTubers compete with each other to survive as they solve puzzles, escape rooms, and other competitive games. And the show involves a combination of scripted scenes involving paid actors, some scripted interviews, and then also some improv between the YouTubers during the games and puzzles. And it's proven to be very successful, with many seasons being produced over the years, and has made millions of dollars in revenue. And it's a really big opportunity to be a part of the show, since it opens a lot of doors for the cast involved as YouTube partners. Gabbie Hanna was a cast member on both Season 2 and on Season 4 of Escape the Night, but this video is about her behavior on set of Season 4, so that's the season we will be focusing on and talking about for this video. On Season 4, Gabbie's character survived until Episode 5, which took 3 days of filming, so Gabbie only worked on set for 3 days of production to film her parts of the show. As far as we could see as viewers, including the behind-the-scenes vlogs that was posted by Joey, everything looks like it ran smoothly, and there was no really hint that Gabbie was ever a problem or had any problems. As Daniel would later say, though, Gabbie was entertaining on camera and put on a good show when she was on. It wasn't until months after the season premiered that Joey and Daniel started to slowly speak out against an anonymous cast member who was difficult to work with on set. The first time we saw this was when Joey Graceffa was doing a podcast interview with Trisha Paytas, who asked Joey about the filming of Escape the Night and asked if any of the cast members had an issue with being killed off the show. To which Joey responds that yes, in season 4, he had some issues with one cast member who was difficult to work with. He never said Gabbie's name though, and he kept the cast member completely anonymous. A little later on though, Joey Graceffa appeared on an episode of Shane Dawson's podcast where Joey said that Gabbie would own up to the fact that she was a little nasty on set sometimes. Eventually though, Daniel mentioned Gabbie briefly in a vlog where he named her as a nightmare to work with, said she had a ton of diva antics and a lot of unprofessional behavior, but he said it turned out entertaining on the show, so he couldn't hold that against her. Now let's get back into talking about the expose series video that Gabbie posted about Joey and Daniel and Escape the Night. So, because Joey and Daniel have spoken up against Gabbie's behavior in the past, Gabbie wanted to, quote, defend herself and tell her side of the story in this episode of the expose vlog series, although nobody prior to this really knew any details of Gabbie's antics or behaviors, only that she was apparently difficult to work with and was said to have acted like a diva on set. That's what was public knowledge anyway. I'm sure that everybody behind the scenes knew all the details and everyone, kind of talked between themselves. But publicly, us as viewers didn't know any details until Gabbie posted her video. So to summarize Gabbie's retelling of events, she first started off by saying she just wants to defend herself and she always apologizes when she does something embarrassing but never gets apologies back in return. She talks about how she doesn't like how online usually the first person to talk about a situation publicly wins and then you have to apologize to them and that's it. And Gabbie said she never spoke up because she believes that professional stuff should be kept private. She then says that she's mostly upset about people pretending to be her friends for years and then talking bad about her at opportunistic times. And then details that she's basically talking about Joey and Daniel and how they talked crap about her publicly. She said she thought Joey and Daniel were her real friends, so it was like a, quote, knife to the heart. She then backs up to recount her retelling of events for the show, and she starts off by saying that she didn't ever want to do season 4 at first, but then she decided to after she was begged to by Joey and Daniel. She admits that she was difficult to work with on set and says that she didn't understand her mental health and that is a reason why. She then kind of gives props to Colleen Ballinger, who was also a cast member on set, and said that she wasn't able to manage that kind of setting and atmosphere like Colleen could, who was a brand new mom and literally had a baby on set during filming. She said that she told Joey and Daniel that in order for her to participate in season 4 like they wanted her to, she needed a specific set of healthy meals, and that's what would allow her to participate. She had told Joey and Daniel about her specific dietary restrictions and said that she needed something to eat that would fit the needs of her ED. Gabbie then got a little emotional when she started to talk about how she felt humiliated by the fact that Joey and Daniel started talking about her behavior publicly and said that she had set clear boundaries that weren't respected and that also made her feel humiliated. She then talks about how her outfit was restrictive, how she was given heels even though she asked to not be in heels, how she was too cold, and how she was given jewelry made from metals that she was allergic to. She said that on the first day of filming, there was no healthy food, so she told Daniel, please make sure they have the proper food for next time. She said that she was busy because she was hungry. Gabbie then started talking about the call times and said that at one night they stayed until 4 or 5 in the morning and that the call time the next day was too early, so she thought it was ridiculous and just straight up told them no, that she would not show up that early the next day. She then talks about the interviews portion of filming the show and said that she had a lot of trouble with getting her interviews recorded because of the hurry up and wait portion of being on set. She said that she was always ready when a producer would ask her if she was ready, but then they would never actually bring her out to do interviews and that she just waited around and nobody actually came and got her and initiated the interviews. She then said she was very upset when after this her agent contacted her and said, Gabbie, you can't refuse to do interviews. and Gabbie basically said, "I'm not refusing, nobody's just grabbing me for interviews." She also said at one point she really needed a meal, so she asked the producers about it, and they said that the kitchen would not open until 5 and only snacks were available, which brings her back to her point about not being respected for her food restrictions and her boundaries about meals and eating. She then said that she heard that she was going to be killed off the show, so she asked Joey about it, but he lied to her and said that they wanted her to stay and they weren't going to be getting rid of her. So that day, Gabbie actually was killed off the show, and she said it was for the best because she wasn't having a good time. And then she said that the next day she actually apologized to Joey and Daniel for her behavior, but also gave explanations and goes into how she thinks that apologies should be mutual, and she wants an apology back for what they did to contribute to her very emotional reactions, as she puts it. And then she goes back to talking about how Daniel and Joey would talk about her behind her back, pretend to be her friends, how Daniel was just at her home, so why are you talking about me behind my back, she says. And then she said that Joey eventually unaccepted her apology and continued to talk about her behind her back and on public platforms. Gabbie ends her video by saying she tries way too hard to make excuses for people and doesn't want to be pushed to the wayside when she is struggling. When I first watched this video, I took down some notes that I wrote down before seeing the Twitter reactions and everything like that, so here were some of my first impressions of Gabbie's retelling of events. I was mostly focused on reacting to how Gabbie wanted apologies from Joey and Daniel, since she apologized first and wanted a mutual apology for the way they didn't cater to her specific needs and boundaries on set, and how they talked badly about her publicly online afterward. I basically wrote down that I thought she was totally allowed to have her side of the story and her feelings are valid, but I feel like this video was more about demanding apologies than anything else. I also noted that I didn't think Gabbie was in the wrong for expressing her feelings or sharing her side of the story and struggles with her dietary restrictions and ED, but I did think that she was in the wrong for acting like she was still a victim of being talked about negatively by her ex-coworkers, and how she didn't feel like she deserved the criticism that came from them and the aftermath that followed. So then I went to Twitter to see what everybody thought of the video and to try to scope out some reactions. The first and most prominent Twitter reaction that I saw was a statement posted to Twitter by actress and YouTuber Rosanna Pansino, who is also a cast member during Gabbie's season of Escape the Night. And here is what the statement said. Joey and Daniel were extremely patient and accommodating during filming season 3 and season 4 of Escape the Night. I personally witnessed them both try to take care of every single cast member more than any other set I've been on in 14 plus years. They both even paid out of their own pocket to make sure we had the nicest trailer with everything we requested. The crew was also very professional, organized, and hardworking. I don't like drama, but Gabbie's video paints an untruthful picture of what happened. Much of it is simply false. 1. Gabbie did not come to the 3 wardrobe fittings before filming. At 2 of my fittings, I was told Gabbie was supposed to be there that day, but didn't show up. She chose not to go at all, so the wardrobe department did their best to make a costume without being able to see her. I, too, had some issues with my wardrobe, but was able to work with production to get them resolved at the fittings. 2. The entire cast was sent a dietary restrictions request form days before filming. Every single request I made on the form was taken care of by Joey and Daniel. I personally heard Gabbie tell Joey the first day of filming, "I didn't fill that out, I hope that's okay." Keep in mind, meals are ordered before production begins, so everything is ready ahead of time. That is the time to make dietary requests or bring your own food. 3. I personally witnessed Daniel leaving set to go get Gabbie any food that she wanted. There was also many healthy options, including a salad bar with protein. Despite all of this, she blamed Joey multiple times for causing her ED to come back. 4. During the photo shoot press day, long after the show wrapped shooting, Gabbie called one of the female production assistants a dumb C-word and walked off the set without finishing her shoot. The reason? Because the crew member gave an updated shoot time that was 10 minutes different than what was originally told. A bunch of YouTubers who also worked on season 4 of Escape the Night liked this statement on Twitter, therefore pretty much backing it up and endorsing Rosanna's statement, and these people included YouTubers like Colleen Ballinger and Tana Mojo, among others. This makes it pretty clear that most people involved, and the people who were there in person to witness this were taking sides with Joey and Daniel, and nobody has come forward to defend Gabbie except for some of her biggest fans and stans as far as I have seen. Joey and Daniel also took to Twitter to express their frustration with Gabbie's video, and then both posted their own in-depth videos to tell their detailed sides of the story to YouTube. Joey Graceffa posted his YouTube reaction shortly after Gabbie's vlog was released. Joey was visibly annoyed, upset, and frustrated with his delivery of events, and I've never been a huge fan of Joey or an avid watcher of his content, but based on what I have seen from him, he's usually not this sassy, so the frustration was definitely something important to note. This seems to have brought out a side of him that we don't normally see, which makes this response a pretty big deal. Joey starts out his video by saying that he and Gabbie used to be good friends, but the way that Gabbie treats people is the reason why she keeps losing her friends. He then compares Gabbie to Colleen, with Gabbie being a bad, disrespectful friend, and with Colleen being the opposite, being a new mom with a baby on set. Joey says he's allowed to talk about Gabbie and his experience with her, which is what Gabbie wanted an apology for, but the first time he spoke about it publicly during an interview with Trisha Paytas, he didn't even say Gabbie's name, but people connected the dots and found out it was Gabbie because of her reputation. Joey never begged Gabbie to be on the show, but asked her because he liked her and wanted to be a supportive friend by giving her this platform. Joey then backs up what Rosanna Pansino said and said that Gabbie only filled out her forms, her medical forms and dietary forms, the day of filming, and she expected things to be done for her when she didn't even really do the work herself. He said Daniel went to Whole Foods and got her specific healthy meals that she didn't even eat, and he thinks that this was a power move to kind of assert her dominance and diva-like attitude on set. Joey then said in regards to the outfit not fitting Gabbie, he said that Gabbie approved her outfit at the first fitting but didn't show up to the other two fittings. They said that they needed to fit her again and they couldn't come up with a time for her to meet at the studio, so they sent their costume designer, who was 9 months pregnant, to Gabbie's music studio where she said they could meet, but the producer, the costume designer, was stood up and Gabbie was never there and they couldn't fit her. Joey said that once Gabbie told the PA that she refused to come in at the call time the next day and refused to work, and her manager had to apologize and said they planned to drop her, that's when they planned to kill Gabbie off the show right away so that they didn't have to work with her anymore. Joey admits to acting, quote, fake, and reassuring to her because he was being professional and he wanted to keep the peace to protect him and the show. He then says, quote, "How dare we pay you thousands of dollars to sit in a luxury trailer and do nothing?" He said that fake accepting her apology was just him, again, protecting his project, and pretending everything was good was the best option since she's scary and makes it hard for people to be honest with her, and then calls her delusional and says that she's always playing the victim. He then says that after her character was killed off the show, everything went smoothly and a negative energy had been removed from the set. For the key art shoot, which is the photo shoot for the billboards and everything like that, he said that Gabbie didn't want to make the call time because of her gym appointment and only wanted to be there for the least amount of time as possible. He then says that Gabbie called a crew member a dumb C-word, then stormed off set because she was given an updated time for when they needed her. And Daniel says something a little bit different about this part, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. So a day or two later, Daniel posted his retelling of events from Gabbie's season of Escape the Night. This video was much longer than Joey's since it included a lot more screenshots and some voice notes and recordings, and Daniel's video was very detailed and he retold the story in a calm, concise manner. Most of what he said reiterated Joey's video and Rosanna Pansino's statement, so when I summarize it for you guys, I'm going to just kind of leave out everything that was exactly what Joey said, but I'll talk about any new points or anything that I basically feel like is worth pointing out. So in the beginning of Daniel's video, he talks about ADHD, and he says that he has ADHD also, but he doesn't use it as an excuse for being unprofessional at work, and even though he has ADHD, he still goes to work and treats his coworkers with respect despite his diagnosis. He also says that In season 2 and in season 4, Gabbie didn't really get along with the other female co-stars, especially Tana Mojo, and he said that there was a really weird atmosphere in season 2 with Liza Koshy, as they were huge competitors of each other on Vine and YouTube. And as Joey said, Daniel said that they never begged Gabbie to be on the show, but there was a lull in her controversies at the time, and this would be a great opportunity to give her a better image and a better spot in the algorithm, and just more opportunities for growth in general. He shows a video of their trailer where the cast members usually would hang out and get their hair and makeup done, or just kind of hang around when they weren't needed at the specific time. And he shows how accommodating they were for the talent, and they paid for dressing up the trailer out of their own pocket since the network didn't cover that in the production budget. Daniel says that pretty soon after filming started, one female YouTuber, who he wanted to keep anonymous, approached him and Joey and asked to be killed off the show because she was uncomfortable working with Gabbie and uncomfortable with how Gabbie was acting on set. And now that it was affecting the cast and crew, there was an issue that was definitely creating a toxic environment. He says, "This type of set is not meant to revolve around any specific person. It's a different atmosphere where the team works together. Long hours are normal, call times change, etc." He then talks about how Gabbie said how her jewelry was apparently fake jewelry that made her break out in hives and a rash. And Joey said that Gabbie requested sterling silver or white gold jewelry, which he said the jewelry was actually sterling silver. And if it was breaking her out and causing her to have an allergic reaction, nobody was forcing her to wear it, and she could have taken the jewelry off or requested to not wear jewelry at all. Daniel says that he respects that Gabbie says the food on the set triggered her ED, but also says that he will not be lied about when Gabbie says that there was no healthy options, which there were, even though she didn't fill out the paperwork about her dietary restrictions. As Joey said, Daniel also thinks that Gabbie was only trying to be difficult on purpose to be the diva of the cast and seem like the most important person there, and he thinks that's a symptom of being an overall unhappy person. Daniel explains the issue with the interviews that Gabbie talked about, saying that Gabbie wasn't always ready for the interviews, saying that she needed hair and makeup touch-ups sometimes when they were asking for her, and then she just fell behind in the order of people who were being interviewed. So they asked her to come in the next day at 2:15, which was earlier than when anybody else needed to show up, so that she could get her interviews in. And then when she said no, that's when her agent told her that she can't refuse to do her interviews. He then said that for the storyline of the show, the next day they had planned to do a double kill because Tana had an award show to go to the next day, so her character would be killed off, and Gabbie was too disrespectful to both him and the crew, and they didn't want to work with her anymore, so they killed her off too. Then he kind of jumps forward in the timeline a bit, saying that months after the filming had completed, they needed to do a key art shoot with, like I said, is kind of like a photo shoot day and a trailer day where they film trailers, billboards, thumbnails, stuff like that. And he said that the day before they were supposed to have the key art shoot, Gabbie had a meltdown to Daniel and verbally harassed him, demeaned him, and made him cry because of a scheduling issue involving her personal trainer. He provided voice notes and text messages to back up some of the things that Gabbie was saying to him. Gabbie said that she wouldn't have been available if she knew the call times was from 8 to 8:30, and says she's not coming at all because she has to see her personal trainer and doesn't have time for a 12-hour day of shooting. Daniel then tells Gabbie that she's contractually obligated to be there, and he thinks that this is a form of sabotage. That's when Gabbie left a 3-minute voice memo reiterating everything she pretty much said in her recent vlog, and Daniel periodically pauses the voice recording to reiterate his counterclaims, the ones that he's already been presenting earlier in the video, same ones that Joey presented in his video. So then Daniel had basically no other option but to contact Gabbie's attorney, who knows that she's contractually obligated to be at the key art shoot, and Gabbie then said that she would be there. Even though Gabbie said she would be there, Daniel and the other production team decided to hire a backup body double in case that Gabbie was not going to show up. So Gabbie did end up showing up, and it was a super busy day with shoots and interviews and makeup, etc. So once a PA came in and updated Gabbie on when they needed her by a 20-minute difference than what they had first told her, apparently Gabbie scoffed loudly and called the PA a dumb effing C-word. And Daniel and others witnessed this and heard this. He said that since Gabbie was still being very rude and disrespectful during the key art shoot, that they decided to send her home after she only did about 70 or 80% of what they needed from her. And they didn't want to ask her to stand in a glass box for an hour, which was what they were going to do for the rest of the day, while photos were taken, so they had the body double do that part for her. And this is the part where, when I said earlier, Joey said that Gabbie stormed off, and Rosanna said that Gabbie stormed off, and here Daniel says that the reason she left is because they told her she could leave because they had what they want from her. So I'm not sure what exactly happened, probably something in the middle, I'm sure. So now let's talk about the aftermath of these videos that came out by Joey and Daniel. Basically, everyone is fully on Joey and Daniel's sides and have some major criticisms for Gabbie in the way she handled being a cast member on set, in the way she portrayed the situation in her vlog, expose video, and how she still thinks that she deserves to be apologized to. People are also taking major issue with the way Gabbie is using her ADHD diagnosis as an explanation or excuse for everything she did to be unprofessional, and how she keeps plastering Google definitions and ADHD symptoms on the screen of her videos when she talks about something she did or a certain way she behaved. This comment under Gabbie's video says, "Just so you know, you blaming everything on your ADHD is becoming really offensive. I have ADHD and I've never once acted like that. Neither has anybody I know with ADHD. You're really making the community look bad. Stop. You're 30. Grow up." Another comment I read that I agreed with and wanted to share regarding Gabbie's request for a mutual apology says, "An apology with an expectation of a return apology is not genuine. Your apologies come with strings attached, and that's why they never give you forgiveness. You are not owed forgiveness. Accept that and move on." I personally feel like the idea of mutual apologies should not be the norm. Yes, sometimes apologies should be reciprocated, and I've also participated in mutual apologies, but not for something like this. I'm talking about like situations where me and my husband have a petty argument over something insignificant, where we both overreacted and then both apologized for overreacting. Beside that, I can only think of mutual apologies being acceptable for like little kids, and even then it's not always right. Like when a kindergartner takes a crayon from another kid and the other kid calls them stupid for taking their crayon. The teacher may pull the two kids aside and say, "Okay, you apologize for taking something without asking, and you apologize for name calling." But this isn't a short, petty argument or a kindergartner setting. This was a professional million-dollar job that involved contractual obligations, medical forms, fittings, etc. And the cast member made the crew and production go above and beyond for her, even though she wasn't uploading her contractual obligations. So here, I definitely don't think a mutual apology is owed. I saw someone who online, they said that they think Gabbie only apologized to get an apology back, which doesn't make her apology genuine. My final thoughts are probably the same as yours. I think this is a situation where most people can agree with each other when we say that Gabbie was in the wrong and therefore she shouldn't be demanding apologies from the others involved. I still agree with my first impression notes from earlier, where Gabbie's feelings are valid and she's allowed to still have negative memories associated with the filming of the show. She's valid in feeling like maybe some of her boundaries weren't respected when it came to her mental health and ED, but I also don't think her feelings are to be used as an excuse for her behavior, and I don't think she should be expecting anyone to take her side and agree that she deserves an apology from Joey or Daniel or any of the other crew or cast members. So, here is my illustration of Joey Graceffa. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I honestly actually kind of hate it, but as I've said in previous videos, I'm still finding my style for caricatures, and I definitely try to do more exaggerations here than some of my other videos. And at this point, I gotta say, I think I prefer my more subtle caricatures, so we'll see how my next drawing goes. And if you've made some artwork with me, as always, I'd love to see it by tagging me on Instagram or Twitter at PaintAndSipYT, And here is some of the artwork that was shared with me from some of my previous videos. Also, remember to subscribe if you liked this video, follow my socials, and maybe check out my Patreon or Etsy shop if you'd like to support my artwork even further. With that, I hope you enjoyed hanging out and maybe making some artwork with me, or just hanging out and listening. Thank you so much for watching, and stay creative. See you next time.